Hey, welcome everybody to Security Guide TV, a special edition of ASIS 2017 with my special guest today, Rachelle Loyear. She's a council chair of ASIS International, and specifically you're the Crisis Management and Business Continuity chair for ASIS International. I got to make sure I get my acronyms right. Welcome, Rachelle. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, of course, what we're speaking about today is the big one. It's the ASIS 2017 Expo. That's Security Expo. And that's taking place, of course, on September 26th and 25th to 28th in Dallas, Texas. So make sure you guys sign up. There's still room to get into the seminars. You can actually get a booth if you want to. There's still time for that. So today we're going to speak with Rachelle about something that's really, kind of near and dear to my heart, because I just got back from Black Hat and did a bunch of interviews about the cyber world. And Rachelle, I understand you're going to be leading an education session at ASIS 2017. It's called The Future of Cybersecurity Risk. Wake Up, You're There, which I think is a great title because people think this is something you need to worry about later, but it's here. So speak to us about that. What can we expect?
Yes, so we are doing this. It is a panel. It's going to be with myself and two ASIS board members, John Petruzzi and Tim McCrate. And anyone who has ever seen either of those good gentlemen talk know that this is going to be a fairly entertaining panel. And what we're going to talk about, we're going to focus on what we're seeing today in the cyber and technology and IT front. You've got AI, you've got machine learning, you've got hackers, and how all of the things that we used to think were things we had to deal with tomorrow are in fact not. You are hacked probably right now, and if you don't know it, then you might be in a little bit of denial. And we'll talk about things like just this morning, I turned on the news and I'm hearing that I have to hide from more spoilers from Game of Thrones from HBO. And I think that was actually a bad hack because nobody wants to be spoiled on that. But
Right.
we'll be talking a lot about those kinds of things and how you deal with them. And specifically on this panel, we'll talk about what you need to look for, how to position it, and then a big focus on enterprise security risk management, we call it ESRM, as how to deal with this, because these risks are universal. And ESRM is a good way for the security industry and people in the security industry to deal with not only technology risk, but all aspects of security risk, technology being a part of that, obviously.
Well, I get that part, and I've said this for years. When we first had access control systems at the studios, right? We had some of the first access control systems, and I kept telling people, listen, you think physical security and cybersecurity are separate issues? No, they're the same, especially now. There's not much in the physical security world that's not IoT, Internet of Things, not connected to a network. And so for the physical people to not kind of get on board and say, I should learn about that someday, it is now. Really, they have to be able to embrace that. What do you think about that? Do you think we're getting there? Do you think the physical security world is really on board now and embracing this concept that really they're one and the same thing?
I think we are definitely getting there. And I think that this move that ASIS has taken shows that as well, in that when you're looking at the ESRM aspect of it, everything is holistic management of risk. So we have an example. So the risk of intrusion is not a technology risk and it's not a physical risk. It's somebody getting somewhere that they don't belong. And they can get there physically or they can get there virtually and they can hack your network or they can jimmy a lock on a door. But as security people, we need to manage that risk of intrusion. And I think as we're bringing these groups together and making it more accessible for them to deal with each other across borders, one of the things that the ESRM Commission, which is a group that I'm on, part of ASIS, where we're really promoting ESRM, is doing in Dallas this year, is running a special education seminar on Sunday about IT security for the physical security manager in plain English. And I think that's an important aspect of it too, is to give everybody the tools to talk amongst themselves on how to interact from the physical side with the IT folks, but from the IT side with the physical folks as well, so that if you are doing network monitoring, that you can do the same sort of alarm monitoring in the physical realm on door locks and camera monitoring or on network monitoring. So I think that's going to be a really good session for folks who don't have a deep technical background to get more embedded in that IT space so that they can start having these critical conversations with their IT folks.
Well, I think that's so important, and I like your point that it goes both ways, right? So we often think of security as cybersecurity being now superior to physical security in some ways, right? They've taken over the term security. If you Google security, everything's IT. You'll have to Google physical security to get specifics on that. But really, the IT guys need to go backwards the other way. Not backwards, but the other direction, because they don't quite understand the people component that involves physical security, which is about behavior, right? So IT is trying to build algorithms to identify behavior in people, which can be physical. And really, if they speak together and they join forces, it's really unstoppable. You need to have both of those disciplines. Now, for ESRM, what advice can you give our security managers who want to apply this ESRM principle, but they're unsure how to get started? I mean, this is a lot to get around. I find learning the nomenclature and vocabulary is the first thing to understand. But what advice would you give to people who want to get started in this field?
Let's see. Am I allowed to say buy my book?
Yes, you are. Of course you are.
Okay. So, and then I'll give you some real advice. So, right. Brian Allen and I have a book out now called The Manager's Guide to ESRM. And we also have a much more in-depth book coming out later this year, which is Concepts and Applications, like basically building an entire ESRM program.
Now, let me interrupt you once. Let me stop you one second. Let's tell people what ESRM means, because that may be the first vocabulary word they learn.
that could be. So enterprise security risk management.
All right, excellent.
Is what that's for. And so other aspects of getting into this, I can say that the ESRM Commission from ASIS is doing a lot of really exciting work in this space right now. So we've just finished developing some tool sets and matrices that people can use to measure themselves. And those are going to be released to ASIS membership this year, possibly early next year, but likely this year. We're building some primers so that people can understand what they're talking about, but more importantly, so that the security people can explain this to their business management and executives. And that's the critical piece of ESRM that a lot of times security misses out on, is the partnership with the business, because all of these things are business risks. And we like to talk about security as a special kind of risk, but security risk is just like operational risk, is just like financial risk. It can stop you from doing business, and it can stop the business mission from being carried out. So once you get these aspects down and you understand that you need to work with the business to protect what they want to protect, it becomes much easier for you. And then you're a partner at the table of risk, as opposed to an unfortunate perspective that sometimes you get in business of, oh, you're the person that makes me change my password all the time, or you're the person that won't let me in the building unless I have my badge. And we don't want to be that. We want to be the group of people that says, how can we protect your assets so that they can keep working for you? And that's what ESRM really accomplishes. It's redefining the role of security in this holistic and partnership and very business-based manner, so that people have a seat at the table and they're talking the same talk as the rest of the business. And step one, I think, and to your point, definitions and language, is learning the language of the business and learning what your business does, and then understanding what the business thinks is important. And at the very sort of tail end of that, helping them to make decisions on how to treat the risk, and then bringing your security expertise into it, which we all have. It's that business layover at the front end that I think is critical to start off with.
Now, back in the day, business continuity was really in the side of the either risk management department, which was part of insurance, right? Or physical security participated in that. I used to go around and inventory all the assets in people's offices. So if we had an earthquake, I needed 500 fax machines replaced and so on. that was a good model. It worked. Now you're a chair of the Crisis Management and Business Continuity Council and the IT Security Council. So can you tell us about some of the work going on in those groups? I think it's a little different now. Really, physical security doesn't necessarily own crisis management and business continuity, but maybe they should take more of a role in that and work with the IT people to get this all straight.
That is true, and I will. One point of clarification: I'm not the chair of the IT Sec Council. I'm on it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't want to take Jeff Stevens and thunder on that, but But I am very heavily involved in both, and they tie together really well, and they tie through the concept of organizational resilience, because that is the overarching umbrella under which emergency management and IT disaster recovery and business continuity and crisis management, all of these things roll up under resilience and making your organization better able to deal with whatever comes its way, which kind of ties back into this cybersecurity, we don't know what's coming our way kind of thing. If you have plans in place, and security is a big part of that, to respond to anything, then you're in a better place to respond to those things that you just simply can't foresee. And that's the biggest part, is we foresee and we plan and we put plans in place for hurricanes and earthquakes and hacks and all of these things. But the act of planning and the act of understanding that something could impact you is probably the best preparation that you can get, because then you're not shell-shocked when it happens to you. You might be surprised at the avenue that it's come through, but you are prepared a little bit more to respond. And I think that that's where both of these groups are going, is in a more holistic readiness posture. IT has to have it because they literally don't know what they need to be ready for tomorrow. And business continuity and crisis management has to be ready to respond to anything. So these groups pair together very well, which is why I'm a member of both.
Oh, that's
and
really. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It goes to the point of, we cannot be ready in one area without being ready in the other, and you have to cross these lines, and you can't be in separate silos anymore, and you can't prepare a disaster recovery plan without having a business that is going to use those resources once it's recovered. So I like that partnership aspect.
Now, that sounds really fascinating. Can anybody, not anybody, but who can join a council to contribute to this? I suspect there's people out there saying, you know what, I have a special skill set. I cross over both worlds of physical and IT security. I'd like to join. How can they get involved in that?
Being on a council is incredibly rewarding. I have, in the years that I've been a volunteer leader at ASIS, I have gotten more out of the organization than in the decade previous, just because it brings you into contact with the people who are interested in the same things you are, and you're networking with these folks, and you can have these fascinating conversations with incredibly smart people who I don't even know how their minds have gotten to where they are, and they're so impressive. But if you're interested in joining a council, you can go on the ASIS website. There's a whole section about councils. There's 34, I think, councils in different topics: school security, physical security, industrial security, my council, the crisis management. So if you have an area of expertise and you would like to join a group of experts, you can apply to be part of the council on that page, and the process is explained on there. And it's truly a very rewarding experience, and you get to give back to the industry that I have gotten a great deal out of. So I really do like the aspect of being able to give back to it there. And if you don't want to be in a council that has a very narrow niche of expertise or discussion, we've got some of the larger groups like the Young Professionals or the Women in Security that have a more overarching but sort of group-based approach of promoting that group across all aspects of security. So there's a lot of different aspects you can take to get into that volunteer leadership.
Now, you said something interesting, and I may have gotten this wrong because we don't let facts get in the way here on Security Guy TV, but you said that the IT people cannot be prepared for all the inevitabilities, was not the word you used, but they can't be prepared for all the possible threats. elaborate on that for me. Is it just too voluminous? There's a new thing on the horizon every day. What is their challenge that makes them less able to see into the future of what a possible future attack is?
I think that it is exactly that. So I know what to do in the event of a hurricane, and
Right.
I know what to do in the event of an earthquake, and those things are going to happen. And I can have a general posture about perhaps a hack or something, but there is such a vast pool of talent on both sides of IT security, the black hat side and the white hat side, the people who are doing the attacking and the people who are doing the defending. And the hackers are wildly inventive, and they have nothing else to do but invent new and different ways to attack. And it's almost impossible to figure out where the next attack is coming from. We are inventing new and different technologies every single day. I'm sure you could attack my house through my crock pot and I wouldn't know.
It's true. It's totally true.
The avenues of attack are so enormous that it's hard to be prepared for it. And which is why you just have to be prepared for the inevitability. And that's kind of back to the very beginning of this conversation, the topic that we're going to be covering in the session in Dallas on the future of cyber risk. It's not the future, it's now, because the risk is that all of this risk is out there and we don't know what it is. So we're gonna talk about that, and we're going to talk about some ways that people can be prepared even though they don't know where the next attack is coming from, be it their phone or their air conditioner.
No, it's true. I'm always worried that my refrigerator is going to kill me one night in my sleep because I didn't order enough butter or something, because it's all connected to the internet. It's all the Internet of Things. Anything on the internet is a potential in to your network or a hack. So it's very scary. Now, you did touch on this a minute ago, but you've been involved with the Women in Security Council. Can you share a perspective on how the profession or the society is evolving?
So the Women in Security Council is a great group. Women are roughly 10% of the security industry. So having this council enables us to work together, talk to each other about some of the things that you experience as a group of folks who are less represented in an area. But I think that as we evolve as an industry, these differentiators are going to become less and less because we are becoming much more business focused. We're becoming more risk focused. People are starting to understand the crossover of all of the different aspects of risk. So you've got traditional things like there's a little bit more representation in BCM because that a lot of times came out of HR. And so these people are starting to kind of grow and cross over. And the Women in Security group really helps promote that, helps reach out to people who are not in the security industry at all and bring them in, bring people in from insurance or fraud or things like that. And as an industry, we need that influx of folks. We've got near 0% unemployment in cyber. That's a great place to be if you are a cyber person because you're being constantly recruited, but it's really hard for hiring. So we have to get creative in our hiring, and we have to look for the business people and the fraud people and the audit people and bring everybody into this fold. And I think that it's going to grow and it's going to change. And I hope that one day I will lose my very favorite benefit of being a woman in security, and that is that there is never a line at the bathroom at any security event.
Well, that's a very good point.
I hope one day there will be a line at the women's room at a security event. That's my goal.
That's a very good point. Every seminar I go to, it's 90% men walking around, except for the booth babes, which are ridiculous.
Well, yes, that's a leftover thing that we can maybe work on.
Well, if only 10% are female in the profession, and we have 1 million person shortage, literally, and some people tell me it's as high as 2 million. Listen, if we got 50% women, we'd solve our our underemployment crisis. I think it's very, very important. Now, what do you look forward to about in the seminar this year? What are you really looking forward to? A lot of new things going on. It's going to be different than last year. What's your most favorite thing?
So there's a couple of things. The new focus this year on ESRM because I'm a huge ESRM evangelist. So it makes me very excited to know that there's a lot of education sessions that are going to cover this topic. And I'm involved in a couple of them, but there are so many, I'm probably not even going to get to go to all of them. And that makes me excited. Honestly, I go to ASIS every year for meeting my peers in the profession, though. I love the conversations that you can have. I love the floor and all of the new technology and finding out all of the new stuff that's coming down in security on both sides, IT and on the capacities for physical security to be able to do stuff. So that's very exciting to me. But I really go for the conversations, I think, more than anything else.
Well, it's really one of the things they're doing that's really cool is the keynote speakers and the session halls are now going to physically open up into the exhibit hall after it's over, which is going to make it even more social and inviting and get you in there right away instead of walking all the way around and down and up the stairs like you always do to get into those things, which makes it a little more difficult. Well, Rachelle, I'm fascinated by this conversation. We could go on forever, and you'll have to stop by the booth at ASIS. I'm on booth 314 over there by the watering holes, they call it, and check out. And let's continue the conversation. So, everybody, let's review one more time. Make sure you attend the ASIS International. Which exhibits are we on? It's the 63rd. I get my years mixed up. 63rd Annual Seminar of Exhibits. That's September 25th to 28th in Dallas, Texas. And for more information, of course, you guys can all go to securityexpo.org. Remember, www.securityexpo.org. So my special guest has been Rachelle Loyear, the Council Chair of ASIS International. And I look forward to seeing you there. So thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. All right, everybody.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you in Dallas, everybody. Have a good evening. Bye.